Thank you so much. All right, I'm not the last speaker before lunch, so the pressure is not on me, I hope. Let's see if we can get some energy into the room with our quick move on what Zalando is about to do. All right, okay, so anyone here has not heard of Zalando? Wow, this is an awesome audience. So I don't need to introduce the organization, but I will talk a little about the journey, just to set the context here that we are talking amongst organizations that have been into play for 40 years, 50 years. We heard Nestle talking here, we heard Lloyds Bank talking here, and I am representing an organization that is a small, teeny-weeny, 10-year-old baby at the moment. Yes, we love fashion. We are a fashion technology company. We started at maybe one of the worst times in the world, in the economy, when Lehman Brothers had filed for bankruptcy. The whole world, all the economics of the whole world was in recession. And when Ali mentioned earlier that he ordered his shoes and he was waiting for it, I said that there was a time that our founders used to actually take the parcels to the post office and would also pick up the parcels on returns from the post office. And that's the early initial team that started Zalando. To a grown-up, in 2014, we filed our IPO, and in 2012 already we were profitable in the DACH region. In 2014, we were profitable in all the segments that we work in. We started as a very simple online shop, and if any of you remember, the first test model was flip-flops, and that's how Zalando is known even till today, that we sell flip-flops and shoes. It was not until 2010 that accessories and clothing were added to this segment, and today we have become Europe's leading online fashion platform. Which has around 300,000 product choices. I'm here actually preaching to the converted, so I guess I don't need to talk more numbers. We work and sell in 17 countries across Europe, close to 16,000 employees, and cater to 2,000 brand partners across the world. This is our global footprint, where our fulfillment centers, warehouses, as well as tech hubs are based out of. You can see that we also have a small presence in Brunna, which is also close to Stockholm. Why am I here, and what am I talking about, and why am I here talking in Nordic People Analytics Summit? Well, so as Ali earlier told, that I take care and lead the technology talent acquisition team for Zalando. As you saw, yes, we are a fashion platform, but fashion technology company, and hence technology is at the core of everything we do. After filing for the IPO, we are a small company, but we are chasing big competitors like Amazon, ASOS, Farfetch's of the world. And to fight with the competition and make our own niche, we want to be the first stop for fashion. We want to be the Netflix or the Spotify of fashion. And this is to do this, we need to staff our technology teams, and that was why I wanted to set the context of why are we looking at hypergrowth. What does hypergrowth actually mean? We want to staff a lot of people in a very short time to cater to our business goals, to cater to our technology goals. A panel that was here earlier talked about if you want to hire more people in your HR team, what skills would you look for? And there was a mention of, I want a data scientist in the HR team. And I was like, oh my God, the talent market is already so small for my technology recruiting. What happens if the HR teams also start looking for data scientists? Like, I mean, maybe I'm out of job, and we already have a lot of challenge in the market. So what I'll be talking about is a short story. So keep in context, 10-year-old company, still baby steps. Yes, I think, converted from Excel sheets 3 years ago when I joined. I was working in Accenture before I moved to Zalando. So the first day I asked my boss, can I see the knowledge portal? Can I look at where can I access reports? That was my Accenture habit. She laughed at me, left the room, went away to another meeting. And that was my start with Zalando. From there to now, for a lot of you sitting here, you're experts, you would feel that, oh my God, these are like baby steps, such juvenile stuff. But for an organization that was about 13,000 people then, this was a challenge. And how did we convert this challenge? How did we crowdsource? We heard this term earlier as well. Look at different teams. We didn't have a people analytics team when we started this challenge. How did we crowdsource capabilities? How did we use and double down on what we have within Zalando already, and what did we achieve through it? So this is a slide story that I would like to tell about our challenge in 2018. What was our challenge, as I said, in 2018, the business posed that we want to hire 1,000 engineers, just 1,000 engineers. When I say engineers, yes, we use a job family taxonomy here as well, and our engineering job family includes developers as well as data scientists, researchers, machine learning experts, data analysts, people who are working with the data lake, etc. No, data lake is not a lake of data. Sorry, bad joke, I know, for this forum. What were our options when we got this challenge? Well, we could have done what everyone has always done, or what we've also done in the past. Hire more recruiters to ensure that we have enough resource capacity and load balance. Go for an RPO, or what we call as recruiting process outsourcing, hire a vendor, or maybe deploy 10 to 12 headhunting agencies and spend a lot of Zalando money on getting these 1,000 engineers. But, well, just as you saw in the video, Zalando has always questioned status quo. We've changed the market, and we also believe in doing so within the organization. We have our fuck-up Mondays, so we believe in failing and learning from that, and hence we wanted to look at a very different battle plan for this challenge that was presented to us. For the first time ever, we looked at something which was not what the team, or even me, we were not used to doing this. And this was also because we had a new leadership team within P&O. There was a change of mindset. There was a change of how we want to look at capabilities. We wanted to target increasing our delivery. So we looked at what was the rate of offer acceptance. We wanted to increase that quarter on quarter from Q1 to Q4. We wanted to have a percentage increase in the number of offers that were accepted by candidates, hence having more hires for that year. We wanted to do this by looking and talking to numbers. And what kind of numbers would we look at? We would look at our pipeline quality. That is, how many candidates are coming in? What is ideally the on-site to hire ratio? What do you mean by how on-site to hire ratio? So for every candidate that we bring in, we have some on-site interviews. And then if the person is successful, we hire that person, right? So we want to look at if you want to hire a senior Scala engineer, it takes us 7 on-sites to 1 hire. And that would give us predictability and also the quality of the pipeline. So we wanted to reduce the on-sites to hire ratio. The second bit is we wanted to look at time to hire. That is, what is the present time to hire and what are the obstacles and how do we bring this time to hire down so that we can process more candidates. And the third, and very important for us because those are our customers, that is candidate experience. What was the status quo on candidate experience? How can we increase this experience? Increase experience would mean more acceptance of offers as well as people who would be our ambassadors and refer other candidates in the future. So, what did we do? In various steps and stages, I would cover a couple of things. I can't go into all the things that we tried and failed, but I will talk about certain activities. We shook hands with technology, yes. We looked at what is within the organization. We looked at what is outside the organization. What I drew from Steve was also about talking about building a network. Looked at what was the network of vendors who were already approaching us, what is relevant for us, and what was Zalando famous for. We looked at different teams and crowdsourced on what they could do. I will talk about 3 activities and 3 things here. Number one is, as an organization, we have our business intelligence team. We work with customers. When you go to your Zalando site or Zalando app, you have something called as a recommendation engine working for you, just like Netflix. The recommendation engine or the recommendation team that works with us in our sizing department also looks at recommending what runs large, what runs small, so on and so forth, right? So we do have a business intelligence team. We have a recommendation team. We have the technology within the organization. What do they use? And what are we not able to do? We moved from an Excel sheet to an ATS about 3 years ago, a proper ATS. We use Greenhouse as an ATS. Greenhouse would give us reports. Greenhouse would give us a lot of information, but it was all white noise. This was not the white noise that our hiring managers, our business wanted to hear. This was not the white noise that was giving us a lot of information. So we consulted the business intelligence team and rather looked at pushing this entire data through the Redshift database and get a full analysis, data dump of how our candidate pipeline looks like. This is our 1.0. And again, referring back to Steve here, I would say that do not look at the quality of the data at first go. It is not a waterfall process. It is always in improvement, and we want to look at then improvising on this in 2.0 and 3.0 and so on and so forth. This was our first version to look at what is the candidate pipeline. Certain things that was very obvious from this candidate pipeline and the process was our filter out ratio. So we have around 88% of applications are filtered out. That means the recruiters who are sitting and screening applications are actually spending and wasting their time on looking at applications that do not even match our job descriptions and job profiles. So that was the first area that we thought we would tackle. Yes, numbers scare us. We are from the HR field. Numbers scare us. I admit, numbers scare me. But when numbers start talking and telling a story, I like them. I personally prefer them. That's where we saw that, okay, these are the 88% filter out ratio. How do I reduce this? First of all, time wastage and reduce the filter out ratio. Looking at that, we tried to say, all right, what if we look at the job descriptions? Maybe what we are looking at, what we are attracting, and how we are attracting is where the problem lies. So how do we attack this? We looked at our quality of job descriptions. This is a freeware that is Text.io. It's one example of looking at freeware that is available in the market. You can also definitely go ahead for a full subscription of Text.io, but the freeware also does your basic job, looks at neutrality, looks at the length of the job description, and in the end also looks at the conversion rate. So you can see for this example, we had a conversion rate increase from 16% to 25%. And this altogether, you can also get a conversion rate for cumulatively for all job positions. That was the first effort to increase the quality of job ads. Then the second effort was to understand who and what are we targeting. And this is how we need to understand where do we get this data from. Not everything comes through our historical employee reports. So we wanted to interview certain employees. We did some internal interviews, we did some external interviews, developed what we call as Zalando talent personas. We also have this for our consumers and customers as customer personas, and that's where we learned the tactic from our brand marketing experts to develop talent personas. Where does our, so if we have an engineering talent based in one of our logistics warehouses, where does this engineering talent look for the next job? What kind of websites is he or she looking into? Where do they usually toggle when they're using their free time? Based on this, we now know where to target for a particular job family or a particular job when we're looking at certain channels, and also how to message them. What kind of messages are acceptable to this audience and this type of persona? So we are not spending time and effort and money in sending messages into channels that do not give us any input or give us applications which we have to sit and filter out. Last but not the least, we talked about, in the Zalando video, you saw that make employees have a sense of ownership. And this is where we want to give each recruiter a sense of ownership to analyze how their jobs are performing, which country is giving them a better footprint, which channel is giving them a better footprint, and in the end, then they have more control on whether to post on Stack Overflow, whether GitHub is a better source, whether LinkedIn is a better source. It's working, the job is working great from Germany. Why don't we just change the language of the job, which we present in English, to German and see if we get more hits, so and so forth. So this is something that the recruiters get in control of. So we saw data telling us a story here of a filter out ratio. We saw that, okay, we need to look at our job description, improve the quality of job description, target properly, and give control to the recruiters to also decide on which channels to use going further. There was another information which was available in the MicroStrategy dashboard. There's a lot of information, but just in this screenshot, there's something called as time to hire and time to start. We were talking about this earlier, that business and recruiters or business and HR sometimes talk different languages. When you're sitting across a table, business usually doesn't want HR on the table because we don't talk the same language, and it's about talking numbers, talking man-hours, talking how much amount of money would you need to spend, or how many days would you need to have a particular bum on the seat to solve your problem. That's what they want to hear, and that's what we should be able to tell them. So we wanted to look at our time to offer and time to hire. We also wanted to look at how do we reduce this and bring this down, because a time to hire of 70 days was really harming our entire process, was really harming the delivery that business wanted to cater to. One of our challenges here when we looked at our time that was spent within the pipeline in the whole conversion funnel, we saw that there was a lot of time which was spent in scheduling and waiting for interviews to be scheduled for a candidate. Sometimes a candidate would wait for 3 weeks to have an on-site interview scheduled, bring the person over from another country, have the on-site interview done, and then finally think about another offer, think about an offer. By that time, this candidate would have 3 or 4 offers from 5 startups that are sitting in Berlin or Amsterdam, and he or she would have signed the contract already. So how do we cater to this situation? This is where we looked at, this is where the combination comes in. This is where we didn't look in-house. We looked at something, what was available in the market. We looked at what other organizations similar to us are facing as challenges that churn the number of candidates that we churn. And we looked at certain examples of Airbnb. Airbnb was using a scheduling tool called GoodTime, and we tried to do a proof of concept study with them last year to look at our efficiency study. We have a team of coordinators, interview schedulers, who basically call the candidate, ask for the time, look at the interviewers' calendars, schedule the interview, so on and so forth. In the proof of concept efficiency study, we figured that it was taking 22 minutes for a coordinator to schedule 1 set of on-site interviews for 1 candidate. It was taking 45 minutes to 1 hour to reschedule 1 interview. This was, so if you imagine, if you have 5 reschedules in a day, that's all that this particular coordinator would be doing and wasting time on. Most of our 60% of the interviews were being rescheduled because of candidate rejections, because there was a lot of back and forth, they wanted to change the time later, maybe they couldn't take a leave, so on and so forth. When we brought in GoodTime is basically an AI-based tool that matches calendars of interviewers and matches calendars of candidates. The interface also allows, this is the interface that a candidate sees, so basically the candidate himself or herself can go and pick their own time and slot for an interview. Doing this, what we saw as a difference over the implementation of good time during the proof of concept and after the full rollout and implementation is the change in the execution. So today we need 44 seconds to schedule one HR interview, 44 seconds. So that means the coordinator doesn't even need to do this. The recruiter can do this herself or himself. Second, we saw 22 minutes for an on-site interview. This was reduced to 4 to 7 minutes to schedule an on-site interview. Because most of our reschedules were coming in from candidates, now candidates had the power to select their own time and slot, the number of rejections and number of postponements from the candidates reduced by far, and hence the rescheduling time also dropped. In a sense, then what did the coordinators do? Well, the coordinators can now spend their time away from their laptop, really guiding, meeting candidates, and enhancing our candidate experience. And this overall helped us in reducing the time to bring a candidate on site, and hence reducing the time to offer overall. It also created very good interviewer experience, because in this, we could really also drive it into the system that we cap our interviewing to 2.5 interviews a week, and don't utilize a particular interviewer just because he or she seems to be available. So this is something which is automated. Coordinators today are only needed to have human intervention and escalations from the tool. They also have cases where it's a very simple process and you don't have to schedule something with a vice president or a senior vice president. Then this process can be automated and cater to the candidates even when people are sleeping or not in their working time zones. Then the last bit, which is customer facing, is candidate experience. We wanted to enhance our candidate experience, and that's where we looked inwards again. We have our customer NPS score. So we are a fashion tech company, and our customer NPS score is one of the most important things that drive our performance in business. So that was customer NPS score. That's also called CNPS. We just converted that into candidate NPS score. Use the same tools. We use Qualtrics for our Zalando customer NPS scores. That gives us NPS for different countries. Fun fact, Netherlands is actually our highest on NPS scores across Europe, just a fun fact. And we use the same tool. This gives us an idea. So you can see the spread ideally gives us an idea what should we work on. When we ran all our candidates through the process, whoever comes in and has an interaction with a human being, that is the first step, gets the set of questions, whether they're rejected or are selected. Based on this, we found certain areas that we needed to work on. Number one was speed, which you saw we worked on earlier. That was the time to hire. Number two was clarity. Again, something we worked on based on the job description and improving the job description. And number three was feedback. Candidates told us, number one, that the feedback that was given to them was, number one, not actionable or not relevant in number of situations. We went back to our training team. We looped in certain workshops. We also went back, looped in our hiring managers, changed the way we reject candidates, especially when we have silver medalist candidates or who can be selected at a later point in time. We have the hiring manager as well sit during the rejection call and offer a rejection call to the candidates. And this made interesting increase in our candidate experience altogether. Why is the panda there? Whereas it's just a personal preference. I like pandas. And here it depicts a happy candidate. As happy your panda is, as good your acceptance rate would be. What happened because of all this? Well, these were the main activities that were driven. We had a lot of other things going in the background. So what was the result? We reduced our days to offer from 52 to 32. We were able to increase our candidate NPS score. We started in January 2018 at a -7. We ended up with a +33 at the end of November, beginning of December. I don't count anything end of December because everyone is on holiday. So beginning of December. And all in all, we were also able to reduce our filter out ratio to a whopping 71%, which was a major change from the 88% that we saw. And overall, we were able to increase, by doing all these activities, we were able to increase our offer acceptance rate by 30% from first quarter to the fourth quarter. In doing so, at the end of the year, we delivered around 700 hires. Our target was 1,000, and you would say, you didn't achieve the hires. Yes, of course. So we changed our targets also during the year. Volatile business. Certain businesses decided to focus on other aspects and move the requirement to the next year. We worked along with the business and delivered on goal. We didn't see a headcount gap at the end of the year, except maybe 5 or 6, some places which we carried over to the next year. And we did all this by reducing our agency spend to less than 2%. So to summarize, and I think a lot of things would resonate with presentations that we've seen earlier, is it's not always maybe important to get bigger. So sometimes people always think, let's hire more people, let's get more resources, the resource capacity in. Sometimes it's also important to get better, and that's where our numbers help us. Second is double down on what works. For us, our branding works. We know how to look at branding for our customers. We know how to look at consumer data. We know how to look and analyze consumer data. We have tools that do that, tools that give us consumer intelligence. We wanted to use the same tools. Keeping it super simple, things that the team can understand. As we said, unfortunately, we don't have data scientists as recruiters at the moment. I don't know how the headcount cost will actually align, but that's for the comp and ben team to think about. But keeping it super simple, something that the team can understand, something that the team can translate to business, something that the team can enhance on in the future as well. And in the end, I think numbers can do as much. You need people to deliver this, and this is the team that delivered this for Zalando last year. Thank you.